In today's video, I'm going to discuss what I believe are the 3 best camera lenses for beginner filmmakers on Canon DSLRs.
When you say you feel low, and good things
Now this video is only meant for beginner or APS-C cameras, so 2 of the 3 lenses will only work on the 1.6x crop EFS standard. To meet the criteria for this video, the lens has to be A, cheap, and B, be useful in a regular cinematic sequence. Now all the lenses in this video add up to about 670 Australian dollars, and if you already have the kit lens, it's about 370 Australian dollars. Throughout this video, I'll cut to clips of me using the lenses mentioned to make a cinematic sequence that you will be able to view at the end. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss an upcoming video on how to order a cinematic sequence for beginners. First, we have a lens for wide shots introducing a scene. This is the kit lens for Canon APS-C DSLRs such as the 200D that I'm filming on right now, and the latest version of that lens is the EFS 18-55 IS Stm 4-5.6. Now this lens only works on APS-C cameras, and due to that, its full frame equivalent focal length is 28.8 to 88mm. If you don't get it included with your camera, it's 200 to 300 Australian dollars depending on where you get it from. It's quite a versatile lens for home shooting, even though for professional shooting I only use it at 18mm to introduce a scene, because when you're doing mid or tight shots you need a shallower depth of field, which this camera cannot provide due to its tight aperture. Now let's move on to a slightly better wide lens if you're willing to pay a bit more money for it. I don't actually have my hands on this lens because I can't personally justify the price for it, but if you're planning on doing a lot of vlogging or want better quality wide shots, this might just be the lens for you. It's the EFS 10-18mm lens, which again only works on APS-C cameras, so beware of that, but it has a 16 to 28.8 full frame equivalent focal length, so you can get slightly wider shots. It is pretty pricey for beginners though at 500 Australian dollars. And of course this lens will take the place of the 18-55 in your kit, because you will not need 2 wide lenses unless you are more advanced and have specific uses for them. Now let's move on to a mid-shot lens for progressing the story. In this case I'm recommending the EFS 24-2.8 Stm lens from Canon. I'm going to be using the full frame EF version with slower autofocus, however the image quality should be the same. The only difference is that the full frame version works on full frame cameras, and the price is a lot more. The full frame equivalent focal length for this lens is 38.4mm, which means it's close to 35, which is a general mid lens used for progressing stories. At 270 Australian dollars, it's not an impulse purchase, however it is quite a good price considering the quality of the image you're getting. This lens has the same autofocus motor as the 18-55 and 10-18 that I mentioned before, however the one I have uses an older version of the autofocus that's louder and slower. Now let's move on to my personal favourite lens of the bunch, which is the one you're seeing right now, the Jung Noir 51.8 EF version. This lens works on full frame cameras, however on APS-C cameras like my 200D, it has an 80mm equivalent focal length. 80 to 90mm lenses are used to show specific details in a video, such as dialogue or the character doing a specific action. At 100 Australian dollars, it's half the price of the Canon version of the lens, which is already really cheap at $200. The image quality is pretty good, as you can see right now, however the autofocus is loud and not very good. I'm currently using this lens at f2.8 because at f1.8 it blurs the background too much, which may be desirable sometimes, however in this current situation it just makes the background look unrealistic. Here's the final video that was made with the lenses mentioned in today's video.
Why don't you let yourself slip out of control? We could have a good time, let everybody sing, and get your feet up on the floor. Da 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 da. So when the world feels dark and friends seem hard to find, you know how to light a spark, just to let your ways unwind. When you're down, there's just one way to go. Let us ascend tonight. Everyone could be so happy and the sun will shine all night.